Silent Hill.
James is a troubled, widowed man who lost his wife 3 years ago to a severe terminal illness, which took months to take her life away. In these months, James' wife, Mary, suffered greatly, slowly having her organs shutting down, seeing herself get severely sick and unable to take care of herself. The disease or illness is not specifically mentioned to be what exactly, but by what is implied, it seems to be cancer, which slowly reaches Mary's lungs. As it can be heard, she coughs a lot and struggles to breathe, having oxygen tanks hooked up to her. This leads to Mary being taken to a palliative care house or department in a hospital, where she spends her last days coughing and seeing herself slowly decaying and dying. This makes James very upset, and understandably, as a loving husband, he suffers just as much as Mary does. However, towards the end of her life, James starts feeling hate and resentment towards her, starting to be exhausted and feeling vulnerable to the inevitability of it all, that Mary will die a horrible death and there's nothing he can do about it. Being a traumatic experience losing a loved one, James doesn't seem to remember exactly how Mary died, as if his mind is wiping off this memory to protect him. That's when he receives a letter 3 years after her passing, that she is still alive and in the place that they went on a getaway, which happens to be Silent Hill, a resort with wonderful scenery. This confuses James as to whether Mary did actually die or not, as he cannot tell for sure, not remembering her death. The town of Silent Hill is not what it used to be anymore, being covered in deep fog with monstrous beings roaming it. In the meantime, James meets a woman called Maria, who looks and sounds strikingly similar to his late wife. Maria is a more flirtatious and promiscuous lady who acts really clingy and badly wants to be with James, even though he clearly displays that he's not interested and he's there to find his wife. Going down this strange and baffling rabbit hole, it is only revealed towards the end that this town has some sort of supernatural power, making people's fear and trauma come to life. The town is nothing but a plain canvas, which is shaped by the victim's memories and thoughts, hence looking and being completely different based on different people's perspectives. For James, as he was cold towards Mary at the end, abandoning her as the pain was too much for him to handle, seeing how ill Mary is, vomiting and unable to control her own body, this otherworldly place brings all those thoughts and tainted memories to reality, making James relive them in more horrific ways. It is shown in a distorted manner that James was the one who actually ended Mary's life by using a pillow to smother her, as she was weak and unable to defend herself in the last days. But the strange thing is, it's not fully clear if James actually did kill Mary or if it is more symbolic on how his coldness and abandonment of her towards the end put the nail to the coffin and made her give up on life. I made a video going over the full story and the true ending, which you can watch by clicking on the card above or the link down in the description or in the comments. In here, I will cover all the endings of the game. I covered this ending in the last video, so I will very quickly go over it and talk about the symbolisms. James finally meets Mary at the end, who happens to be Maria, disguised as James' late wife. It becomes clear Maria is a manifestation of James' memories and perception of how he saw her, being youthful, full of energy and life, and very flirtatious. Despite getting what he wanted so bad, he knows this is not his wife and cannot accept anyone else to replace her. Despite not being the model and perfect husband at the end, James cannot let anyone else replace her, as he truly loved Mary. At the end of the day, he was just a human, not perfect, and admittedly, it is a horrible thing to leave a loved one at the edge of their life, battling such a horrible disease. But again, only people who had to experience such a nightmare truly know what goes on in one's mind during those times, when their loved one is at the edge of their life, battling it every day. James was probably in hell himself, and the worst part of it is that he had to live on with that trauma and memory, blaming himself every day and feeling guilty for not being perfect to Mary. It turns out, Mary gives James a letter and tells him to live and move on, and to be happy. He is seen leaving Silent Hill with Laura, a young girl that he meets in his journey, who seemingly befriended Mary in the hospital. This ending is known as Leave, and it might imply that James managed to actually leave Silent Hill, back to living life, moving on finally, having the closure with Mary. But it does seem unusual. First off, let's look at Laura and speculate who she really was. Through the cutscenes and the dialogue, we learn she befriended Mary in the palliative care unit, where palliative nurses were taking care of her. They spent many days together to the point that Mary told Laura that she feels like she is her daughter. What might a little girl be doing in a palliative care, you might ask? Well, unfortunately, nothing good. It seems Laura herself was a patient, and she was also battling a terminal illness.
Just don't tell Rachel, okay?
Who's Rachel?
She's our nurse. I took it from her locker.
My dearest Laura, I'm leaving this letter with Rachel to give to you after I'm gone. I'm far away now, in a quiet, beautiful place. Please forgive me for not saying goodbye before I left. Be well, Laura. Don't be too hard on the sisters. And Laura, about James. I know you hate him because you think he isn't nice to me, but please, give him a chance. It's true, he can be a little surly sometimes, and he doesn't laugh much. But underneath, he's a really sweet person. I love you, Laura. I love you like my very own daughter. I wish things were different. I wish we could be happy together, like we talked about. Even so, I know you will have a good life. You're a strong, smart, beautiful girl. Happy 8th birthday, Laura. Your friend, Mary.
Laura. How old are you?
I turned 8 last week.
Laura mentions in the hotel that the nurse taking care of Mary, called Rachel, was also her nurse, meaning Laura had palliative nurses taking care of her. Also in the letter, we read that Mary wishes Laura a happy early birthday, which is to come soon, turning 8 years old. James asks her how old she is right now, to which she answers 8 years old. The letter was written 3 years ago. That means Laura is in fact dead, with her soul roaming the otherworld town of Silent Hill in search of her friend Mary, a mother that she wished that she had. It might be even that she was an orphan, as we never learn about her parents, and she befriends Mary to the point of wanting her to be her mother. Why would she be here in the first place rather than trying to reunite with her family? So it becomes very clear that Laura is dead, being a lost soul traversing across the purgatory of Silent Hill. But of course that's not how she sees her, as she sees it like a much better place. As to her having an innocent child mind, she has a complete different perception than to James. So what does that mean? How can James see Laura, a dead person? It seems as if the entire journey James had, being lost in the otherworldly town of Silent Hill, a representation of his twisted and tormented mind, is in fact a purgatory where he suffers according to the guilt and trauma that he has. After having a closure with Mary on her deathbed, she gives him the approval of moving on, which he does, leaving the Purgatory of Silent Hill with Laura. Note how there are no more monsters anymore to torment James, yet there's still deep fog, which could mean James did not leave the Purgatory. He did leave his nightmare and trauma, moving on, yet he is still dead himself, just simply moving to a different place now. I will expand on this theory a lot more in a following video, but for now, let's go to the other endings. An ending called Water might be a hint to how James could have lost his life, ending up stranded in Silent Hill. After learning about what happened to Mary and how she passed away, James, being frozen, unable to move, is shocked to how cruel he was and how guilty he is, being the reason Mary died. Of course, Mary would have died anyway, but James possibly made it much more painful at the end. Despite promising Mary that he will live on, he explains how he cannot live without her.
I miss you so much. I tried. I really did, but I can't. Just can't go on without you. I can't forgive myself for what I've done. I know this isn't what you would want. But I guess it doesn't matter anymore. You're not here. Are you?
That is when he crashes his car into the lake, losing his life. The letter is read on its own to how Mary was suffering at the end, not being able to cope with the unbearable pain, suffocating every day. Yet the most painful thing that she had to endure was her husband, James, not being next to her to support her. Seeing how cold he had become, as if pitying her or hating her or being disgusted by her. This pain and guilt, making the love of his life feel that way, doesn't allow him to forgive himself. This ends with him dying, which could possibly lead to him ending in the Silent Hill all over again, to repeat the same loop of forgetting what he had done, learning about it again, just to suffer and die again. Another similar ending to Water is Stillness, where James is sitting in his car, trembling in shock, having uncontrollable tremors. This, in a way, connects to the very beginning of the game, where James has hand tremors, having just removed his wedding ring. It seems as if James is punished with repeating this hell of journey over and over, forgetting about how Mary died, just to learn it again and feel the pain freshly, without being able to move on. In this ending, however, Mary tells James to live on and forgive himself as she has. James is extremely ashamed of himself, yet he collects all of his strength and courage to read the letter, knowing that Mary will wait for him in the other life, with James telling her to be patient, as he will surely join her.
I tried. I really did, but I can't go on without you. I can't forgive myself for what I've done.
I know. What's wrong, honey?
I miss you so much. I'm sorry. I am so sorry.
It's okay.
Will you wait for me?
James. I've always been waiting for you.
This is a bitter ending, which might suggest in here that he is alive, yet not being able to reunite with Mary, whom he sees in the car. Despite that, he gets a chance to meet her. Not now, but when the time is right. In an alternate ending, when James simply refuses to give up, he meets with the Maria in disguise, confronting her that he needs to kill the part of him that still clings onto Maria.
I'm sorry. I know what you are, Maria.
What does it even matter? I am here for you.
You're not her.
She's gone. And she's not coming back.
You're wrong. There's a way. I can still bring her back.
What? No, that's not true.
But before I do, I need to kill that part of me that still clings to you.
If you missed this part, it essentially confirms that Maria is just James' imagination and thoughts to how he wanted Mary to be. Well and alive. Not sick and flirtatious. He knows that's just his imagination. Hence why he says that he needs to kill that part of him, completely wipe that wish and vision, and actually resurrect the dead Mary. That's when he goes to a different place, seemingly a place where he could plead with the old gods of this place, which make it so supernatural.
There's a way. I can still bring her back.
What? No. That's not true.
But before I do, I need to kill that part of me that still clings to you.
Who the hell do you think you are? You don't get a say in this. Not anymore. Like it or not, I am here now. And I won't let it end like this.
Mary. You look so peaceful. Forgive me for waking you. But without you, I just can't go on. This town, Silent Hill. The old gods haven't left this place. And they still grant power to those who venerate them.
As we learn from the deep lore of Silent Hill, there was a specific cult or religion which prayed and revered these gods. He believes these gods could make Mary get resurrected from death. James seems completely steadfast in his journey of meeting with Mary again, saying how he cannot live on without her. This shows the lengths he would be willing to go to be with her again, which shows how much he really cared about her and how much it hurt him when Mary got sick. In an alternate play pretend happier ending, as James watches the tape filmed during their stay in the Lakeview Hotel in Silent Hill, James magically teleports into the tape, joining Mary the time that she was not sick and bedridden, promising her that he will take her to Silent Hill again and that everything is alright now when the tape is cut off and James is nowhere to be seen. It's no surprise by now that Silent Hill manifests imaginations and thoughts into reality. That could be trauma, fear, nightmares, or even happiness and wishes. In here, James' dreams come true and get manifested, with him traveling into this pocket dimension where Mary won't be sick anymore, living in the honeymoon phase of being together happily. Despite this not being the real Mary, being a manifested version of her, similar to Maria but in here, an exact replica of her, James seems to be happy to live this life. Keep in mind, despite there being too many different endings, with them massively deviating from each other, they could all equally be true endings, as James could potentially face any of them in the world of Silent Hill. In a darker, more tragic turn of events, the real Mary confronts James to how selfish he was during the last days of her life, abandoning her and not being next to her in the most difficult moments. She explains how she cannot forgive him, transforming into a bedridden monster who James kills.
Mary?
James. I've been waiting. It's been so long. Didn't you want to see me?
Yes, more than anything. You're all I ever wanted.
That's not true. Is it?
Mary?
You killed me, James.
Yes. I did. I couldn't bear to see you suffer.
Don't make excuses. I know how you saw me, how you felt. You really hated me. Didn't you?
It's true, I may have had some of those feelings. It was a long 3 years. I was so tired.
I guess I understand. I know I was a burden. You wanted a long, happy life. Something I couldn't give. Can she?
Mary, please, if I could...
No, James. Those were the last precious moments I had. How could I ever forgive you?
That leaves James with no other option but to meet with Maria, who is waiting for him patiently. As they approach James' car, with James not seemingly fully happy that he lost the real Mary, having to settle with the imaginary Mary, the image he manifested of her, Maria, yet again repeats the same cycle, starting to cough.
Better do something about that cough.
With James in a cold manner saying that she needs to check that cough fully knowing what is to follow, yet fully committed to face it and suffer again as he knows he deserves it. This essentially means James is trapped in his own nightmare, his own tailored hell, where he repeats the same vicious cycle over and over in a time loop of madness. Maria will be sick just like Mary, where James has to suffer again and again, possibly going back to Silent Hill. In a comedic relief turn of events, there are two joke endings. One is the dog ending, where a Shiba, a breed of Japanese dog, seems to be controlling everything in a control room, meaning all James experienced was nothing but a big conspiracy. Well, yet again, Silent Hill is a place where anything is possible, right? And finally, there's the UFO ending, where the old PS2 style James comes down with a flying alien saucer, zapping James and abducting him, explaining that he is a clone and he needs to go back home, with home being maybe an alternate Earth? The PS2 James replaces the clone James and he goes on to look for Mary in the Lakeview Hotel. At this point, even the comedy endings could be canon, as Silent Hill is a supernatural phenomenon and anything is possible in it. It effectively manifests anything into reality. And that's it for this video, folks. I truly hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to stay tuned for more by hitting on the subscribe button and the notification bell. As always, it's been your host Star, and I will see you on the next one. Have a fantastic day.